It was Disney's day of disaster, and now stockholders have buyer remorse when it comes to Bob Iger and their turning away of Nelson Peltz in the prior proxy battle. But folks, there is a big piece of news buried in the Disney stock slide where the Walt Disney Company saw such a loss that it is the equal amount to the entire value of Warner Brothers Discovery in a single day. Buried in that is a reveal that Disney knows they screwed up royally. With a major attraction coming out in just a few weeks, Disney yesterday essentially admitted that Tiana's Bayou adventure is a total catastrophe. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we endeavor as always to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve, and we've been doing just that. If you were going to that earnings call yesterday and had not been watching this channel, you may have not understood, realized, expected, or projected that the Disney parks, specifically Disney World, were experiencing soft attendance. And yet that's exactly what was said, and it matched exactly with what we've been saying as we have brought you the data over the past weeks. Folks, like this video and let's dive in. There are a few major surprises as part of what we heard from Disney yesterday, and I want to bring this to your attention. We're going to start today out of CNBC, this by Sarah Whitten. Disney's Iger says Peltz proxy battle was a distraction. Board is focused on picking his successor. Now, this is an old article. We bring it up briefly for an intended purpose. You see, this is from April 4th, and this is post-proxy battle with Nelson Peltz after he had been defeated. It was Bob Iger saying that the proxy battle had been a distraction. It was Bob Iger saying that if Nelson Peltz had got on the board, if Jay Rasulo, the former CFO of Disney, had managed to get on the board, that would have been too distracting. It would have pulled their focus away. And this is a complicated company to run. So surely Nelson Peltz did not need to be on the board. Brighter days were ahead if only shareholders would keep Peltz and Tiana out of the Disney backstage management. Well, here we are. In the past month, since that proxy battle, the Walt Disney stock has lost 9.5% at the time of recording. You can see that it's rebounded a very tiny amount, less than $1 since yesterday's horrendous drop. That is no good for Disney, but it's no surprise here, folks. We were only surprised that shareholders did not buy completely into Disney's streaming narrative and instead looked further, especially into their projections for Q3, and said, no, thank you very much. This doesn't look good. So let's talk about what is going on here. Let's talk about what has people freaked out who might otherwise invest in Disney. And I want to say that we are not here to tell you whether or not you should invest in any company. No financial advice whatsoever is being given in this video. Please do not take anything we say as financial advice. This is out of The Hollywood Reporter by Alex Weprin, and this one is within the last 24 hours. Bob Iger details reduced Marvel output, at most 3 films per year and 2 series. And folks, I don't think we've ever seen more than 3 Marvel films in a year. Maybe we have. I can't recall. When Bob Iger says reduced, he means reduced. This next part, the second half of that, where he says at most 3 films per year, that's what they've already been doing. And 2 series per year, that's sort of what they've already been doing. Maybe they've done a bit more. When he says reduced, he means reduced. The second part of that sentence is meant to soften the blow. Reduced means reduced. So you can really look forward to probably 1 or 2 Marvel movies per year. And I bet you can look forward to 1 or 2 shows, because reduced means reduced. That second part, again, to soften the blow. The Disney CEO explained his plans to reduce Marvel Studios' output on the company's earnings call. Now, one of the reasons this is so devastating for Disney is because Star Wars already did this. And why did Star Wars reduce its output? Why did Lucasfilm reduce its output? Because of lack of demand. And we were told that was due to Star Wars fatigue, and they needed to reset the franchise. They needed to give it time to breathe. These needed to be events. And it's been about a decade since we've seen a Star Wars movie go into production. And now you've got Marvel following the same path. This is the Bob Iger path. This is the danger for shareholders, and I think they recognize it. There was more focus, by the way, on the studios in yesterday's shareholders meeting than just about anything we've ever seen before. Disney is planning to reevaluate its slate of films and TV shows from Marvel Studios, with the company set to reduce its output from the comic book franchise studio. On Disney's fiscal second quarter earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger told analysts that the company is finally moving away from a vestige, basically a desire in the past to increase volume. I've been working hard with the studio to reduce output and focus more on quality. That's particularly true with Marvel, he added. Now, again, the first part of that sentence is true. The second part is dubious. It's meant to soften the blow. When a CEO comes out and says, I'm working hard to reduce output, that means that you have an overabundance of the product, right? That means that you have produced too much. Now, how do you produce too much? Well, folks, in simple economic terms, the way that you produce too much is you produce more than the market is interested in. Now, Marvel has not increased in terms of volume. That's just utterly false. There was a time when people were gobbling up 3 Marvel films per year, 2 Marvel films per year, multiple shows. There was a time when people loved this stuff, and that has gone away. Now, when Bob Iger says quality, I'm here to tell you, the quality of the films outside of Ant-Man Quantumania, which that's terrible, but the quality in terms of CGI and in terms of going out and getting the big actors and actresses, it's consistent. What's inconsistent is the narrative. But you'll notice Bob Iger doesn't say that he's going to fix the narrative, just like they have not yet fixed the Star Wars narrative, although a soft reset may be coming. But that has not yet been resolved. And until they fix the narrative problems they have, until they address the cultural disconnect they have with their consumers, then Marvel is doomed to follow the Kathleen Kennedy trajectory of fail and suck. What will that mean for Marvel's upcoming films and TV shows? This year's slate, highlighted by Deadpool and Wolverine, won't be impacted, but it will be felt in future years. What are you talking about? It's the only thing Marvel's putting out this year except X-Men 97. And for whatever you might think about X-Men 97, it's never tracked on Nielsen a single time. It says we're going to decrease volume and going to probably about 2 TV series a year instead of what had become 4, and reduce our film output from maybe 4 a year to 2 at the maximum 3. That's what happens, folks, when you decrease the demand for your product. That's what happens. We've seen it with Star Wars already. How much longer until Disney Animation is reducing its output? Until Pixar is reducing its output? I want to show you something here. This is the extreme danger facing Disney, that if you don't understand this, you don't understand what's going on at the company. You see, for the past 5 years, at least, the Disney company has largely been on a trajectory parallel with Paramount. And what that means is that from a studio perspective, from a box office perspective, from a streaming perspective, the Disney company loses badly. And we could cover exactly why I say that about streaming. All the others are totally evident. The streaming part is a bit muddled because of all of the PR that Disney puts out, but I promise they're $30 billion in the hole in streaming. We can talk about that again. We've done videos on it. But the Disney parks, and specifically Disney World, have subsidized the suck at Disney. The Disney parks have continued to generate tremendous revenues, even as consumers sour on the House of Mouse. They still desperately want that moment that they had as a child. They want to replicate it with their children. They want their child to walk down Main Street, USA. They want them to see the castle. It's the magic that still remains from Walt himself, and they want it pristinely transferred from generation to generation. And I can't hold anyone at fault for that. I love what Walt built. That said, as long as the Disney World Resort and Disneyland and some of the other international parks were generating tremendous revenue, and as long as Disney was able to milk customers from huge amounts of money, right? They generate way more money out of consumers on average now than in the past. And by the way, that you'll feel that in your wallet. But as long as Disney could do that, then all of these other failures could be sustained, because Disney World would pick up the tab for utter box office collapse. And when we talk about box office collapse, by the way, what we're talking about is that Disney went from, in 2019, they went from more than $11 billion in revenue to now they struggle to get anywhere close to $4 billion. In other words, their box office that was robust and It was the well from which sprang forth so many economic ecosystems, right? So you think about a movie like Moana lands, and suddenly Moana hits theaters, and now there's Moana toys, and there's Moana theme park lands, and there's Moana on the cruises, and there's Moana, clothing for little girls. Now that Disney can't do that, seemingly, at least there's a huge drought in Disney's ability to do it. Outside of Encanto, they've had no success whatsoever. In fact, they've had historic failures, flops, and bombs. Well, without that, all that Disney has to survive on are their parks and their consumer products. The parks have been driving 70% of the profit. This is why shareholders are freaked out. This out of Deadline by Jill Goldsmith. Disney stock dips as theme park comments rattle market. CFO, that's Chief Financial Officer, cites global moderation from peak post-COVID travel. Fireworks at Disney's first quarter earnings amid a bitter proxy fight quieted down in the second, and the company's commentary on a call today, especially around the parks business, generated some investor angst and knocked the stock lower. Disney shares were down 10% into the late morning yesterday. Parks, as has been the pattern, was outstanding for the 3 months ending in March, with revenue up 10% and operating income up 12%, but the future may not be as clear. And I tell you, folks, that those numbers are far more rosy than reality. We just don't have time to talk about it. And shareholders, by the way, weren't fooled by it either, clearly. The uptick was driven by international, led by Hong Kong Disneyland. Walt Disney World and the cruise line were solid. By the way, Disney World had major, significant statistics dropping. But Disneyland, despite growing attendance and per capita spend, saw results dip year on year on high costs, including labor. A big surprise. He said parks growth in the current fiscal third quarter will be flat for a few reasons. Now, again, we have talked about on this channel in the past, and we were called out. We were told that we were using bad data. We were wrong. We've told you that attendance was slipping, dipping at Walt Disney World. We told you that this month, May, is looking to be the lowest attendance since September of 2022, which is the lowest attendance in the post-pandemic era. We told you all of that. We showed it to you using data from thrilldata.com. Now, it's being confirmed. We were right. We were right because we looked at the right data and we brought it to you at the right time. The CFO is confirming it, and shareholders are abandoning ship. But here is the secret, folks, that you clicked on this video for, I hope. Here's the secret you need to know. You, me, we're right about Tiana's Bayou adventure. We're right about this $200 million experiment in vapid virtue signaling out of the Summer of Love, where they took the most beloved attraction of all time, Splash Mountain, and changed it into something that was an ultimate virtue signal to try to keep various racial groups from boycotting Disney Plus. And what do we have here, folks? Well, let me show you this. This is out of WDW Magic. Disney remains tight-lipped on Tiana's Bayou adventure opening date in today's earnings call with Bob Iger. Why did Bob Iger not tell us when Broccoli Mountain is opening? Because it doesn't matter. Folks, in this earnings call, they said that the attendance for the next quarter is expected to be soft. This is the ride that's believed to be opening in that same quarter that attendance will be soft. What does that mean? It means that this ride, this changing from Splash Mountain, it will have either no effect or, now listen, negative effect on attendance at Walt Disney World. This ride either has zero impact on bringing in additional customers, or it is actually having a negative effect, a deleterious effect on families choosing to go vacationing to Disney World. And that is why Tiana was not brought up at all. Because this ride is a $200 million, at best, waste of resources for shareholders. It is a perfect expenditure for activists. It is an activist's splash dream. But for shareholders, for stockholders, for investors, you could have taken every drop of dollar they put on this and burn it. And it would have had perhaps a better effect. Perhaps. Because at best, this has no impact. At worst, it's keeping customers away because attendance in the same quarter this will release is anticipated to go down. Shareholders are bailing. Disney is down in the stock. Nelson Peltz was right. And it's buyer's remorse. Not only when it comes to Bob Iger, but for this catastrophe of an attraction where they took the most popular thing they had at the parks and they killed it. And they killed it thinking that they could do better. But they couldn't. And that's why Tony Baxter got out of there, the guy who originally designed Splash Mountain. And that's why many investors yesterday got out of there. Where is this going to end up? We don't know. Not telling you that, folks. We don't know where the bottom is for Disney. But I can tell you that yesterday made it more likely, much, much more likely, that Nelson Peltz and maybe Elon Musk will return. And it may not be for a proxy battle. It may not be third time's a charm. Next year, when it comes time to vote on the board, if this continues, if the next earnings call is like this, then it's hostile takeover territory time. And you heard it here first. Folks, like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts, and don't forget, That Park Place Live is Thursday at noon Eastern Time. It's in that same slot as shows like Midnight's Edge. Midnight's Edge, of course, is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon Eastern. Love Tom, love Andre, hope you'll support them. Pro Show is on Tuesdays at noon, and That Park Place Live is on Thursdays at noon. So make sure you schedule all of those. You don't want to miss it. And tons more stuff is coming out on That Park Place Live tomorrow, because it truly is Disney World Leak Week right here on the channel. And you know what that means for this afternoon. Be here for exclusive scoops as to what's happening at Disney World over the next 5 years. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and unlike Bob Iger today, keep having fun.
This is Wilton the Troll reporting for That's Park Place, and I'm surrounded by loving and adoring people who are peacefully trying to make sure that poor kids aren't cold in the winter. And just behind me, you can see a totally natural bonfire for baking cookies or making marshmallows.
Yeah, so, Wilson, we really appreciate the effort and stuff, but we're looking for real and, accurate news reporting on That Park Place.
So not like most news outlets, huh?
No.